Hey, everybody, it's Ron Johnson, and this is the Ron Johnson Show on Locked On Sports Minnesota. I'm excited about today's show. We got to talk about, of course, the Vikings. The Gophers, a little bit of a backstep, but they're still bowl eligible. But today's Hangin' With Ron Johnson segment, I'm going to transport myself to TCO Studios, thanks to the Minnesota Vikings, and I'm going to sit down with Kwesi Adofo-Mensah's wife, Kevin O'Connell's wife, Leah and Chelsea, and we're going to talk about a clothing release, but also what is it like being married to the head coach? We'll talk about all that and much more coming up next on the Ron Johnson Show.
Locked On Sports Minnesota Podcasts. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. Now the Ron Johnson Show. On the field, in the broadcast booth, Ron Johnson is Minnesota sports. He's played with them, hung out with them, and grown up with all the big names in Minnesota sports. They're hanging out with Ron Johnson. It's the Ron Johnson Show on the Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast. And it starts now.
Hey, good people, it's Ron Johnson, and it's a beautiful, beautiful Tuesday, people, and I'm excited. I'm excited about Vikings football. Even though people are questioning it, I'm excited about Gophers football. Why? They're bowl eligible. And coming up in about a week, we got Penn State. I don't know what they're going to be ranked at the time, but we got Penn State stepping into Huntington Bank Stadium, and it's a 2:30 game. So that means a little bit later wake up, a little bit later game time. And then there's a volleyball game that night. So the University of Minnesota campus is going to be rocking on November 23rd. I'm looking forward to that one. But the Minnesota Vikings have they started their road stretch. And so we got to talk about that. But also in the Hangin' Ron Johnson segment today, like I said, I got Kwesi Adofo-Mensah's wife, Kevin O'Connell's wife joining me in the Hangin' Ron Johnson segment. Looking forward to that sit down with those two. That's coming up in a minute. But I want everybody to know today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Just place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets. That's $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. And think about that. You just have to make one bet and they're going to give you their money to bet on their site. I mean, come on. Like, what else can you ask for? It's like playing with Monopoly money because it's not yours. And if you win, the money you win is yours. Monopoly doesn't offer that, even though I do love a good Monopoly Go, though. I wish one day Monopoly one day will come up with a way for people to actually win money on Monopoly, but that could get a little bit dangerous because then people might be selling Boardwalk for no reason. But again, I'm Ron Johnson. This is the Ron Johnson Show. I got my producer joining me on the show, Sam Ekstrom. As I said, remember, $150 in bonus bets on FanDuel. Just make sure you go and make your first $5 bet just to get started. Make sure you go to FanDuel.com. Sam Ekstrom joining me today on the Ron Johnson Show. As always, beautiful Tuesday. Sun's like bright. I feel like I'm the Dallas Cowboys right now. I feel like I can't see the ball if it's coming my way. I see what CeeDee Lamb was talking about. It's not good. But unlike Jerry Jones, I lowered the shades because I know better. When the sun is going up, you got to put the shades down. So I got the shades down a little bit. So I'm not directly staring at the sun. If the ball were to come, I would eventually see it unless the shades go up. So I don't know why Jerry Jones doesn't understand that. But we do know Jerry Jones did officially announce that Dak Prescott is going on IR and he will undergo season-ending hamstring surgery. So now it's down to Minnesota's own Trey Lance or Cooper Rush. We'll see who wins that job. And the Dallas Cowboys, I don't know if they'll have their coach. But you know who does have their coach? Minnesota. You know whose coach is doing well? Minnesota. Do you know whose offense is doing well? Minnesota. But you know who is not doing well, Sam? Jared Goff. Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions. So Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions, people, and it's still okay because they won the game. The Minnesota Vikings quarterback Sam Darnold threw 4, but only 3 counted, and they won the game. So yes, Sam Darnold's play right now, as of late, is very troubling. It's very concerning. I'm going to do a little play breakdown as well because I got a full day of Vikings today. I'm excited about that. I get to watch a little film. I get to break down a couple plays, and I get to meet with the Vikings wise. But Sam, when I look at playoff potential, and I know the question of the day, people, you let us know what your thoughts are. Spam the chat, hashtag Vikings. Sam Darnold, yes, is going to get them through the playoffs, or Sam Darnold, no, cannot get them through the playoffs the way he is playing right now. Realistically, Sam, if I were to watch this last game, I would say no. But this is the problem with reactionary football. You can't, because I was reactionary on the Dolphins. I saw the Dolphins playing the Rams. I'm like, oh, give me the Rams. Dolphins have no chance. What happened?
I know.
Dolphins won. Like, Dolphins won. You saw the Saints and the Falcons. I'm like, Falcons, Saints. Saints have no shot at beating Kirk Cousins. They don't even have a coach right now. Their quarterback is getting berated on Twitter by old players that he played with. Nope. The Falcons found a way to check it down on 4th down and lose the game. So this is why you play the game. Like Herm Edwards said, hello, we play to win the game. Never count anybody out. And so when I say that, the good thing about the win is you can nitpick, and it's not like, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. It's like, hey, look, here's how we get better. Sam Darnold, those interceptions, the Justin Jefferson one, probably go somewhere else. Coach, maybe run a different play, though. Like, look at the alignment and the assignment. Where's the DB? What is their goal here? Where's Justin Jefferson in relation to the sticks? Where's Justin Jefferson in relation to the DB? Justin Jefferson also, it didn't feel like he felt like he was getting the ball there. Like, he didn't fight through like he normally does. He didn't bang through the guy. Like, it was almost like they all were like sleepwalking a little bit. Like, oh, we got this game. This team's not good. The Jags suck, blah, blah. Like, maybe they were out in Jacksonville a little too late, hanging out. Who knows? But it didn't look great on that interception, Justin Jefferson. Go back, fast forward. The interceptions in the end zone, the interceptions short, like the red zone interceptions. There are things when you look at this play that you're like, hey, the one red zone, just throw it to the flat. The running back running the crosser, you give it to Aaron Jones now, he probably runs and scores because, as I pointed out, Sam, all week, tight end and running back usage. The Jaguars were absolutely horrible with running back and tight end coverage. Sam, who were the 2 leading receivers for the Minnesota Vikings for this game?
TJ Hawkinson and Josh Oliver.
What position do they play?
Tight end.
And you know who could have scored a touchdown if Sam Darnold did not stare at his receivers? A running back. And Aaron Jones. He would, when you watch that playback, Sam, and I was waiting for the all 22 to load up, and I'm gonna break that one down today. If he just drops the ball off to the running back out the back, and it's 2nd down. Know the down, like if it's 3rd down or even 4th down, I totally get it. Because on 4th down, it's like, well, look, if I don't score here, you guys are gonna hate me. But it was 2nd down and 10, meaning you still could get another 1st down and get 4 more plays to score in the red zone. So again, I felt like Sam Darnold felt a little pressured. I felt like he was maybe thinking too much. I felt like he was trying to be this great quarterback to earn himself $50 to $75 million next year. Like, I felt like he was pushing the envelope, but he regressed. He ended up looking like the quarterback that everybody talked about. And here's the last one before I get to you, Sam. Mm-hmm. Peter Bukowski runs the Locked On Packers. He tweeted, quarterback regressions happen. Look at Jordan Love's regression. Look at CJ Stroud's regression. Blah, blah, because he's on this rant about like Jordan Love is better than CJ Stroud, and everybody talked about Jordan Love's regression. We'll look at CJ Stroud's regression. When Sam Darnold regresses, you guys all say that's the old Sam Darnold. So why is it like quarterbacks regress when they're good quarterbacks, and when Sam Darnold regresses, it's just, oh, that's just Sam Darnold. It's very reactionary. It's very like short-sighted, I think is the word I'm looking for. It's very like that's all I care about. No, he's just doing what a lot of quarterbacks do this time of the year. Week 9, week 10, week 11, you might take a step back. Defenses might have figured you out. Also, the Jacksonville Jaguars defense is just not good. Like I said, they're linebackers. And again, I think they're good players because these guys made it to the NFL. They're the best of the best. I think there's something fundamentally off with the coaching staff, the way they're telling them to play, because every time I've seen play coverages break down in the film, the linebackers assume it's zone and the DBs are playing man, and there's something off there. Or if that's how they're teaching it, oh my God, they're going to get fired. Like, because there's something off. And again, the Aaron Jones saying, when you watch that interception in the back of the end zone, I think it was Justin Jefferson. I think he was trying to get the ball to.
Yep.
Aaron Jones bangs into the one guy and literally the film breakdown I broke down was Christian Watson getting banged by Foye, and then the tight end leaking out to the flat, and the linebacker not even realizing he's covering him because after he hit the receiver, he's like staring at the quarterback now. Like, what's he about to do? Like, he's about to throw it to the guy you're covering. You're in man coverage. Don't hit a guy when you're in man coverage. Like, that's dumb. Just go cover your guy. Secondly, that happened again. Aaron Jones got hit coming out the backfield. What happened? The linebacker covering him had no idea he was supposed to be covering him, and Aaron Jones leaks out running the shallow route. Well, if he throws it to Aaron Jones running the shallow and not hold the ball to make the great play and throw a touchdown because I'm Sam Darnold and I want to show everybody I'm great, you complete the pass, and we're not even talking about this. And and I think it steamrolls after that. I think the Jags start getting on themselves. They felt like they were in this game. They felt like they can win this game. So they never gave up doubt. We never put doubt in their minds. So, Sam, my thought on my question to you then, I already told you what I think. I think that there's realistic chances he can lead this team to deep in the playoffs, but he has to change and stop thinking and just take what the defense gives you and know the down and distance. What are your thoughts? Realistically, do they make a playoff run with this Sam Darnold?
Yeah, I ran some numbers on what happens in the playoffs if a quarterback throws 2 or more interceptions, and you lose 75% of those games. So can you get through 4 playoff games without Sam Darnold throwing multiple interceptions? I think that he has to undergo a bit of a rewiring when it comes to Justin Jefferson, because he is often targeting Justin Jefferson on these picks. I think he gets it in his head that Justin Jefferson needs to get fed the ball because that's just logical. He's the best receiver in the game. He needs these passes. What Sam Darnold is not as good at, Ron, as Kirk Cousins, is putting up 50-50 balls or contested balls that only his receiver can catch. Kirk Cousins had a way of placing those passes, whether it's boundary or back shoulder or the height on it. He used the sideline as his friend and make sure that only Justin could make the catch. Sam Darnold seems to put it in harm's way where the contested catch almost favors the defensive back. This is a legitimate skill I think Kirk had that Sam doesn't. So Sam needs to be willing to get it to Jordan Addison more, Jalen Naylor, Josh Oliver, TJ Hawkinson. And I think we saw that throughout the Jaguars game, that there were a lot of times where TJ Hawkinson was just sitting there at the sticks making catches. And I think that Sam's got to be willing to just keep going to that over and over until he's got to pick his spots with Justin Jefferson. He can't force feed him. And that's going to require him to be disciplined. And it's going to require him to say, all right, Justin might not be having a big game. He might be on 2 catches for the first 3 quarters, but we're going to be patient. And then we're going to hit the home run ball. That seems to be kind of a consistent through line with why these interceptions are happening. It's forcing it to Justin.
Yeah. And I think that's part of it. Like, Justin Jefferson needs the ball, and we say that, but there's ways to get him the ball. And there's also some games you have to use him as a decoy. And this is one where, like, if I'm the coach, and maybe, again, maybe coaches are overthinking this and say, well, like, if they know we know this, they're going to fix it. You watch the film, and like I said, tight end running backs are going to have a day against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Tight ends had a day. Running backs were overlooked a little bit. I think Sam Darnold, I don't know. Like, I don't know if he wasn't told that, if he wasn't like advised of that. I don't know, but it just didn't seem right to me. But again, I go back to this Jared Goff 5 interception game. He won the game. His passer rating was 59. It was horrible. He didn't get sacked though, which is weird. That's the weird thing about the Texans game. How do you get throw 5 picks and you're not under pressure? Like, he threw 5 picks and he didn't get sacked. So I don't know if that's ever, like, I would love to maybe have somebody look that up at some point. Like, has a team ever thrown that many interceptions and not had a single sack? Like, a defense come away with 5 turnovers but no sacks. Like, that made zero sense to me. You would think like these were throws because they're under pressure. And I do know, because people are going to bring this up. Oh, one was a Hail Mary. Yep. And one was tipped. Tip drills are part of football, and Hail Marys are part of football. Knock it down. You throw a Hail Mary like Coy Parrish. Like, he caught a Hail Mary like at the end of a game, and it was a cheap interception, could have been knocked down. But at the same time, like, it's still an interception. You still have to catch the ball. So that's on you, Dan Campbell. But they won the game. 5 interceptions. The Vikings, 3 interceptions, almost 4, and they won the game. Technically 4, and I think it was a penalty, wasn't it? Wasn't like a holding penalty or something?
Yeah, hold on Jefferson away from the play. So
which, when you watch that back, I don't think that was a hold.
Yeah, I can't remember. I don't remember seeing the replay on it, but that was a weird play, Ron, because I think because the Vikings got it back on the fumble on the back end of it. But then there probably would have been a review that the defensive back was down when he fell to the ground.
Oh yeah,
initially. Yep. So he actually might have stood. It might have stood as a pick. So Darnold got lucky there. Like if he throws if that one counts, Ron, then the wheels might fall off. I don't know if the Vikings win that game if that one counts.
Because what did they score on that drive after that?
Good question. I'd have to go back and look. I'm sure they probably did get a field goal.
Because I know when you think about like what happens in those situations, and again 4 interceptions, but I'm not gonna say they're dead. Like I would have said if the Lions game had not have happened, I would have said, oh yeah, for sure they're dead in the water. Like if like with the Vikings when that happened, looking at if the Lions game had not happened, I'd say yeah, you're dead in the water after that. But the fact that it didn't happen and the Lions did come back, I'm like, I gotta switch it back over. I think there's a chance that they could have did it. They could have had it they could have still overcome 4 interceptions. But yeah, I was trying to look at the play sheet real quick to see what happened on that drive. But the biggest thing with me when I look at the way the team played as a whole, defense played great. And so we know defense wins championships. And I think Sam Darnold, is smart enough to listen to Kevin O'Connell and say, hey, what's our plan here? What's our end goal? And if we have it, let the defense help us out. Don't kill us. Like, let's take 3 points when they're in the red zone. Like, don't feel like you need to force the ball into the end zone here. Like, all that kind of stuff, I think, and I think Kevin O'Connell maybe got away from it. I think he probably was like, man, Sam Darnold has this, man. Like, I don't need to treat him like a kid anymore. Yeah, you do. Because this is the reason why Sam Darnold has bounced around so much, has not found success, is because maybe people poured into him and then he showed a little bit of success and they just like, oh, he's going to handle it. No, he needs his hand held this entire season. And I hope Kevin O'Connell treats him like one of his little kids and never lets his hand go. Don't let him cross the street without looking both ways. Cut up his food into little small pieces so he doesn't choke. Make sure he chews his food 32 times. Make sure he gets to bed by 8 o'clock because he doesn't want to have bad nightmares or be super tired the next day. Like, you got to literally put kid gloves on with him and handle him the whole season. And I think that's going to be the key to it. And I think Kevin O'Connell probably knows that because he knows exactly what he did to get into the situation that he's in that game. But coming up next on the Ron Johnson Show, I am excited about this. I'm about to magically transport myself over to the TCO studios, the nice, beautiful TCO studios. And I'm sitting down with Kevin O'Connell's wife and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah's wife. And that's Leah and Chelsea. If you don't know, they created a clothing line that's sold out. I got one of the blue jean jackets. They have the bomber jackets. So I'm going to try to see if I get a bomber jacket out of them. But it is some very nice stuff. I know that's the new trend is people within organizations coming up with different clothing lines. We know Hughes Check's wife with the 49ers, she did it and got a licensing deal with the NFL. Now the Vikings have that. And so I want to talk to them about what's next. How is it working and living? Because when you're married, Sam, you know this, you're working together, working and living with an NFL head coach and an NFL GM. We'll talk about all that next, much more coming up next on the Ron Johnson Show, but we'll do that after word from our sponsor.
We're brought to you today by Game Time, and with the Game Time app, you can get tickets to all the biggest events in the Twin Cities. Game Time Picks is their curation feature that filters out the fluff, only shows you the best deals. Get to a Wolves game, Target Center, on Sunday, playoff rematch, Suns at Timberwolves, probably no Durant. That's okay. Get in the door for $58 all in. That's all-in pricing, which you can toggle on the app. I'm looking at a panoramic view from the seat in Target Center. Hey, I think I see Glenn Taylor down there on the picture. Oh, I wonder how long he's going to be courtside with that ownership saga. That's all at Game Time, which is the best ticket app to use for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and so much more. Lowest price guarantee. Game Time's ticket coverage is the most flexible in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account. Use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem code Locked On for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time.
Well, now it's time for the Hangin With Ron Johnson segment. Now, this is a special one. Didn't know they were athletes. I kind of knew, but I didn't know the whole story, so I got a lot of intel before the show started. Anytime I get to talk to athletes, I love that, and so this ties into it. So Leah O'Connell, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah joining me. But if you don't know, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah is the GM of the Minnesota Vikings, and I'm pretty sure most of you should know the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings and offensive coordinator, but if you don't, it's Kevin O'Connell. So I'll start there. You guys coming into Minnesota from different areas, what was your first thought when you heard we're going to Minnesota?
Great question.
Yeah, I feel like Kevin always, from the very first job that he took, because we, at the time, were living in San Diego, which is his home. I moved around a ton as a kid, and it became my home from college and then after college. But he said, I don't think you understand. I'm moving you to Cleveland, Ohio. And I was like, well, it's not as daunting. Like, it'll be fine, you know, it'll be okay. And I ended up really liking it there. I feel like each place we've been has been no different. Every place has been a new chapter and a blessing. But Minnesota, I was really excited to come here. We do have family actually in Eden Prairie.
Okay.
And I love experiencing the seasons. It's cold, but it's still sunny. So even if it's like 12 below, if the sky is blue, I think that does something for you mentally. So I have actually loved it here, and I think there's been so many things to love, but the weather did not scare me away.
I had to laugh at the comment of Cleveland, Ohio.
You've been
there. Yeah, so where was I? So, yeah, as someone who's born in Honolulu, grew up in California, swimmer, surfer, when Kwesi got the job to be the VP of Ops, work with Andrew Berry with the Cleveland Browns, that was a huge life move of California girl going to Cleveland. You know, all my best girlfriends were like, oh, wow, you must really love this man, you know, you going to Ohio. And it ended up being a transformational time for our family. And, you know, you look back and you're like, oh, wow, that did feel pretty different, but grateful. And then when Minnesota came around, I was like, so just trying to understand this. So where we're going is the one colder place in Ohio. And, you know, the moment that we touched down, I think there's this international feel with Minneapolis Airport that I just, honestly, it felt a lot like London Heathrow. And you saw all these different cultures, these people, and I just felt very at peace just the moment that we touched down. And then ever since then, you know, Leah and I talk about getting to know families in the Twin Cities, getting to know different cultures, the restaurants, the food. There is this vibrancy in the culture that I actually see a lot similarities with the Bay in that, But
speaking of what you guys talked about, different places, being in different places, what made Minnesota feel different, you know, than other organizations, or what made, because like you guys weren't together, right, before?
No.
it's hard to imagine Leah not in my life.
I know. I feel
And so, yeah, like now you've created this friendship here. And maybe it's just Minnesota. Maybe Minnesota is like a friendly place that makes everybody want to be friends. But, you know, you come here now and you have now created this bond that's probably going to last forever.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I feel like each place that we've been has presented its own challenges or experiences, all of which I truly believe has equipped us to kind of step into the role that we're in here. And you take the best from each place that you've been to. We've been with 9 teams now and kind of just experienced a lot along the way and seen how, you know, and you start thinking like if we were in that position, what would we want it to look like? And so I think in coming here, a huge focus for us was how can we basically create a community for the families and for the women especially that are constantly, you know, having to balance a lot at home, whether it's the kids or the just making home feel like home when you're uprooting and moving to many different places sometimes. And often a lot of that is out of your control. So in coming here, we talk about how we had a FaceTime to meet each other and kind of get acquainted. And I knew right off the bat, I'm like, I'm like, God is you only need one. And each place we've been, he's always provided me one person.
That's all you need.
I'm grateful for everybody that's here, but this is my one here. And I'm so thankful for just the balance that we give each other of just our personalities and our competitive nature and drive is so similar, but we both offer, I think, a wide range of perspective just from our upbringing and different experiences. But yeah, definitely stepping in here, and saying we want to support from within so that our women and significant others of players and coaches and everybody really on the football side, because it takes everybody, we want them to be happy here and make this feel like home, because then their guys will then feel more free to focus on their job, do a great job, and then you want to be here. It's really, it's not some secret equation. It's a really pretty simple thing. You know, quality of life and a great work environment is so important, and making sure that the women and families and kids feel very supported and cared for as people. So.
Yeah, you're also getting Chelsea at 36 weeks pregnant. So when I look at Leah, it's hard not to like want to cry in gratitude of our friendship right now. But you know, your question of, you know, how this incredible, you know, experience compares, it's super grateful because this is the only experience I actually know.
Okay.
So with the Cleveland Browns, you know, we were during the pandemic,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that really changed just like the culture of like people meeting each other. You know, the team just kind of focused on the field, obviously cared deeply about the community there. But yeah, it just was a different time in the life of moving from California to Ohio. And, you know, I would say from Minnesota standpoint in the Vikings, there has just been this, you know, I guess from a personal life standpoint, this flourishing of like the biggest question that I had was, am I going to be able to get remote at Google was like the biggest concern. I was like, you know, can family life coexist where two people love what they do, and can two careers kind of live, you know, alongside? And the pandemic actually helped us with that. I don't think I would have got remote access if it hadn't been for the pandemic to change the way people work. And so I was super grateful for that. And then moving to Minnesota, being able to join the YouTube TV team, being able to, you know, not only have my career, but then really build these friendships with Leah, with, you know, Quinn and the home team, and, you know, being surrounded by incredibly dynamic women, you know, like, yes, capital M mothers, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, women who have a very rich life, a lot of different interests, and how we show up for both our guys and our families, like going hard in the paint, you know, whether, you know, we have some ex-Olympians, you know, who are mothers, and, you know, we have D1 athletes, like, you know, there's some really incredible dynamic women here. And I think that kind of creates this ecosystem where we can kind of constantly push the boundaries of what's possible. And then, you know, it's really easy to just be inspired by the city, right? Like, how cool is it that people can grow up and have, you know, the University of Minnesota in their backyard and love their college team, and then just less than 5-10 minutes away, you have US Bank Stadium. And like, you walk into that place, I mean, I have seen some beautiful places in my life, like islands of Hawaii. Like, I love the way the sunlight hits in US Bank. It's golden, and it's just a beautiful place. And so I think that there's a lot of meaning in this life in the Twin Cities here that feel a lot of gratitude, that I do think kind of allows like a culture of excellence to flourish.
And not to be, you know, the sun hits the US Bank Stadium the right way, unlike some other teams. They, you know, we're not going to name any teams, but, you know, some people don't like to follow the rules of the sun. But when you know, I wanted to ask you a question because we're going to get into the close. That's why we're here, the International Collection. And that kind of like took the world by storm as far as in my world, for sure, because we got the email about it. And I'm like, what is, you know, because every time I get emails, first I got a call from the Vikings. And every time I see that number pop up, I always like, what did I tweet today? Like, did I do something wrong? That's the first thing that comes to my mind. I'm like, did I do something wrong? Kwesi, dressing, games, right? So every game we all see each other. We, you know, we talk about suits or shoes or Jordans or whatever. How often, because you're in the clothing world and you're dressed really well. How often do you help him? Because we know Julie Cousins picked out all of Kirk's clothes. How often do you help Kwesi, or is this like his thing? Like, does he like...
Well, first, shout out to Omaha. Quarterback is one of the most prolific storytelling series I've seen. It's beautifully shot. Leah and I talk a lot about it today. There's just so many rich storytelling opportunities in the TV ecosystem. So, yeah, first, I just love seeing the 360 view, right, on how these families work. I think that's beautiful in terms of, like, just being able to dress. I mean, you have these guys that are like locked in on the field, right? Like any edge of time savings they can have. It makes total sense that, the wife is going to come in and like, let me help you type of thing. Kwesi and I are very much, I don't dress that man.
You dress yourself. Okay.
That man does not want to be dressed. We laugh a lot of the times. I'm kind of more of like, our approach is, I'm like, oh, have you heard of Studio 189? It's a made in Ghana label, like really cool, different silhouettes, like happen to order you something. And like, he'll tell me kind of what he likes and what not, but it's kind of more of like a sharing ecosystem. And then, like, do I think he could be on the cover of GQ? Yes. Does he want to be on the cover of GQ? No. So I think these are like some of like wife stay in your lane type of thing.
Because Kirk needed help. Like, I don't know if you guys seen early Kirk. Early Kirk, and it wasn't bad. It was just like he literally dressed like a kid going to high school. Like, it was like a polo, but it would be like buttoned all the way to the top. The pants didn't match the shirt sometimes. He wore like 3 different browns one time.
He was very focused on football.
He was focused on football, and that's why he even admitted that. He's like, I need her help. Like, he's a man willing to admit he needs help. And so that's why I just wondered, because I know, like, that was little things I didn't even think about. Like, because I'm the same way. I'll ask my wife, like, how does this look? Or like, does this suit combo go together or whatever? Like, because the lady that does my suit sometimes, like, she comes to the house, and then I'll have my wife, like, what do you think about this fabric or color?
The consulting approach.
Like, what do you... But I like, so here's the thing. People can say they dress for themselves. I will never lie. I want to look good for my wife. Like, I want to look, and before my wife, I wanted to dress for women. I'm not dressing for myself. Like, if it was for me, my wife would tell you, like, my daughter joked about it yesterday. He wears gray t-shirts and sweatshirts and sweatpants every day. And I'm like, okay, maybe I do, but so what? But if I'm going to the stadium, if I'm going to be on TV, I'm like, I will wear a suit. And then, 6 months out the year, I'm in sweats. And that's what I just always wondered, like, because, you never really know. I know for Coach, it's like, hey, I got to wear a quarter zip today. I'm wearing pants, But when you talk about your collection, how did that come about with you guys?
Yeah, I think when we both got here, and the similarities that I touched on earlier, were just both very like creative visionaries, and just pay attention to all things around us at all times. And we walking through the facility or through the stadium, there's all this amazing art, the incredible mural that's up at the front entry of the facility when you walk in. It's just all very interesting and capturing. And so it was a process of noticing those things, kind of through conversation, just as friends, of saying, this is our interest, this is what we like, things that we, game day outfits, getting ready, and then conversations we had with significant others of players and ownership too. And other fellow coaches' wives and people on the football side. It's like, what are you going to wear to the game? And it became this, it's kind of snowballing into this trend of, players are now tweeting out what they're wearing, or you're capturing pictures of them walking through the tunnel. Kristen Juszczyk, we put together basically a timeline of what fan wear used to look like back in the 80s, then to the 90s, and then all the way to today, and kind of where we're at. And it was really kind of a process that evolved over well over a year, where we put together a presentation of why this would bring value to the Vikings and drive fan engagement. And then just you asked about, what we think of Minnesota, or we continue to find really interesting things around this city, whether it's the Twin Cities, through different suburbs in the area. Minnesota has so much to bring to the table of just culture and food and fashion and kind of things that you don't really expect if you haven't lived here before. So that was really interesting for us to find. But we joke that we have a passion for fashion. We just really enjoy the arts, whether it's sewing, painting. That's something that, way back in the day, whether it was college and high school, we made our own clothes. I mean, it's just kind of naturally, organically evolved into this. It has been a tremendous learning opportunity for us to kind of understand the industry and exactly what it takes to push a product through the finish line. It was very, very a really, really wonderful feeling to be able to see people at the Detroit game and beyond in our jackets, and knowing that they were quality materials, they were going to be lasting garments. We wanted it to be something that was like, if you're going to buy one piece of Vikings gear this year, we want you to say, I want to wear this Monday through Sunday, Monday through Saturday too, not just on game day. So many things that inspired the collection, but definitely driving fan engagements and finding ways to pull from that community too, like Chelsea mentioned, of just dynamic women that are affiliated with the football side of this organization, that of our home team.
Yeah.
Yeah, and same thing. Same question to you, Chelsea. When you guys kind of came up with the idea, was there any nerves in this? Because you're putting your name on this.
Yeah.
You're releasing your name with this.
Yes, definitely.
Because there's again, things fail when you have that. Like, did you have any nerves, or did you kind of say like, I know Minnesota and like
two words, and I want you to elaborate. But over the course of a year, I would say adapt and pivot.
Yeah. Adapt and pivot are key. And first, got to say thank you to you and Dawn for supporting.
For wearing.
You guys rocked those jackets,
so
and it
good.
brought so much joy to our team to see, you guys are styling.
Yeah.
You guys are styling. So,
well, that's why I had to ask what it was, because that's the call thing I had with Skip, and you can ask him. I was like, "What color is it? What does it look like?" Because I was like, because like my suit needs to match
Yes,
it. Like I'm not getting up there with a
absolutely.
red suit on with like a blue jean jacket. I'm like, that doesn't go. And he's like, "Well, it's a blue jean." Da, da, da. And so I was like, "Okay, I wear a bluish suit." So that when I put that on, it just goes together. Like it doesn't look stupid. Like I'm like I said, I refuse to ever be on TV and somebody says like, I cannot believe he wore that.
the thing that you highlighted that I think really resonated with both of us in this collection is when you were asked to start the show and you didn't get paid, right?
Yep.
And I think that's something of when you see an opportunity and a market opportunity, you feel very compelled that, there's a gap or there's something that's missing that you could provide. And that's very much kind of what Leah and I, the story behind this collection, right? And as Leah mentioned, we took a very rigorous approach of we had a pitch deck, we had a timeline that looked
60
at the
pages.
Yes,
not just
Did you draw or did you have drawers?
Well,
Did you sketch?
for the pitch deck from a business pitch perspective.
Okay.
We looked at the market opportunity for this collection. We
Got it.
did
Okay.
Market research and the types
wow.
of silhouettes that
Okay.
The Twin Cities. Having weather be such a big factor here, and it's evident, right, that the 32 teams, weather is such a huge factor.
Yep.
Silhouettes, something that lands with the Dallas Cowboys fan base might not land with the Minnesota
Correct.
Vikings fan base. And so just being able to sit in that nice complexity was something that Leah and I really wanted to embrace from the start. And then as Leah highlighted, just learning about how these partnerships run, right? And you can't really just be an independent creative and then just work with all teams. You have to have these partnerships, and the partnerships have really created a lot of options for fans. And what I think you're seeing with independent fashion designers of Kristen and other brands, you're seeing Nike also partner with artists. They're partnering with athletes and Serena Williams. They're partnering with independent creative labels and just creating these streams of different types of wear to see what.
Yeah.
And so we're essentially just offering a different, more dynamic silhouette for the fan base that, hey, they might not want to be splashed all the time in purple, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not saying that these silhouettes are for everyone, for everything, but just being able to provide fans with just a little bit more dynamic silhouettes was the goal. And I think
wearable art
yes.
too, I think, was a huge
Yep.
driver. And seeing the art that was in the facility and at the stadium, it was
just gorgeous.
Yeah, how could we translate that into whether it's new silhouette conjoined with, some really cool graffiti, or find a local artist here in the Twin Cities to feature. And there's a lot to navigate to make that happen. Again, we learned a lot along the way, but I overall very happy with what we were able to push out into the market for sure.
Well, I wasn't expecting to do this long. You guys are it's way more. We can talk about everything. We can go to sports. We could talk kids. I could do this all day. But I don't want to take too much of your time. Last one before we get out of here. I do want to ask, when you think about selling out because you got the message like, hey, you guys sold out. What did that feel like?
Great. I mean, we talked about it beforehand of like what we were taking bets, how long do you think this will take to sell out? And it was also interesting to understand how they structured that because they did not sync inventory that was in the store to online. Again, learned a lot through the process of what might help the next go around, what that would look like. But we sold out, I think, of 2 of the designs within about 4 hours online, everything besides like the 3 extra large or something.
It was buzz.
Yeah.
It was
and
buzz.
so it was a really, it was validating in the sense of all of our efforts were not in vain. There were so many, steps along the process that we had to pivot and adapt of like, you talked about putting our name on something and being really proud about putting that out into the marketplace, because once you do that, you are what you put out there, right? So we definitely wanted to put out high quality, very interesting silhouette, something that, was tailored to the Minnesota fan base, but also, complemented like the London streetwear fashion type of thing too. And so...
Yeah, to Leah's point, the reason I'm smiling right now is we have, everyone has inside jokes, and an inside joke I'll share with you is during Kwesi's press conference, I wore a purple corduroy Minnesota Vikings vintage hat.
Okay.
And I just I love eBay. I love Etsy because you can find all these. And Leah and I often, talk about how you can score vintage pieces. Well, there was a fan that responded and commented on the hat. And I think they really set this tone because they were like, did you see the hat? It's low-key fire. And so when Leah and I talk about, the silhouettes, this aspect of low-key fire, like if you know, and like it's like you see this, denim jacket, this workwear jacket go by you and you're like, oh, is that the Norseman on it? And then you see the back and you're like, wait, is that is that a football field that's embroidered on the back? And so it kind of... It creates that kind of the head turn moment. But yeah, the low-key fire was one of the
And when it's sold out, you now have to buy it on eBay because if you want it, there's no other way to get it. So creating buzz that way too of it's an exclusive piece. You could buy it online. They held some inventory for like in-stadium experience too, because if you're going to one game throughout the whole season, you want to go in and find something super special. And it was really cool to get to give our fan base that.
And a segue, I would say, into talking about this community that has been cultivated here within the home team that is run by Quinn, is being able to deliver this collection. One of the really interesting things is, we had, the players reach out of like, hey, can you outfit the entire D-line in this jacket? And so that was an unexpected twist that I think when you think through, kind of how this collection came to be, one of the things we actually haven't talked about yet, which is one of the coolest aspects of, kind of reflects all the great work that Quinn has been doing with the home team, is creating this flywheel with the home team of women who have their own brands. Whitney Reisner is a jewelry designer, right? We were able to feature her jewelry within the collection. We also have Sammy, who is a maternity photographer, but also just incredible photographer within her own right, with her own brand. She was able to shoot for the collection. And so being able to create this ecosystem where women have their own labels and work together was just really cool. And then being able to deliver a collection that actually our team has wanted, it's just creating a lot new opportunities of this like little rich ecosystem that then can be extended to the fans, that can be extended to fans internationally, which was somewhat surprising.
Yeah, which no other team really has done. I mean, Chelsea brought up Quinn and our home team. It started when Kevin and I got here, and we basically, and Chelsea and Kwesi, like we had this vision of what we wanted it to be. But Quinn has really been the person behind the scenes that has brought that to life. And without her, we would not have what we have today. These women feel so supported. The collection is just one example of how we've been able to draw from within from this amazing community of people and support our own. I mean, that is really a huge factor too. That's probably been the coolest part about Minnesota is there's all these different people that are interested in partnering together to create experiential opportunities or just support one another. And so back to your original question of what makes this place different or what are our goals here, I mean, all of this has kind of, spun into the same web.
Well, you've heard them mention the name a couple of times, so Quinn Adams is going to join us on the Ron Johnson Show. We have a couple questions for her about her role, but there's a lot of things going within the Minnesota Vikings organization that you don't get to see. So as I mentioned, we're going to have Quinn Adams join us. Now married, though, so how do you pronounce your married name? Because
it's a tough one. Jersvig.
Jersvig. So that's not tough.
That was good.
It doesn't look like that, though.
No, it doesn't. GJ.
Okay, because that, it reminds me of, a lot of hockey guys.
Yeah.
Because they have so many consonants and not enough vowels, and they find a name out of that. So Jersvig.
Jersvig,
so
Norwegian.
Quinn Jersvig. So funny, my 10-year-old's name is Quinn.
Oh.
So, yeah, and my wife picked that one.
7-year-old Quinn.
See? And so I didn't like the name Quinn at first because of the TV show Scandal. I don't know if you ever watched that.
I have not watched it.
So watch it. It's great. But Quinn was basically a hired hit woman. So I was like, okay, this is a good way to start our kid off. You got a hired hit woman?
I got a hired hit woman.
But so when your name popped up right away, I'm like, you know what? It's a God thing. Name matches. Let's do it. And then as we were talking, I told you this ahead of time, you are responsible for a lot of the interactions within the facility with the families. And I look at the report cards. We bring it up on Fox and KFan Radio all the time. There's some teams out there that they don't have it. Like Devontae Adams has talked about it. I know Devondre Campbell from the Gophers with the Packers, and family was great, but then this side of the organization wasn't. Where the Vikings have gotten really good grades across the board, but when you come in, what do you do to kind of make sure that relationship with the families feels just as important as the players?
Yeah, that's a great question. It starts right away. Thankfully, with our ownership, we are extremely lucky where they support our staff, they support our coaches, but they've really helped enlist me to support our families as well. So that is from day one, right up into free agency. I am the main contact for the partners and spouses of our players. When we bring them in, we get them adjusted to Minnesota, show them what a great place it is to live. For some people, it might not be the most desirable location, but really I help to hopefully make it a desirable place to live. So I work really closely with Kevin O'Connell, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. They have our players and our staff covered, but they've allowed me to come in and create special opportunities for our families, whether that's getting them involved in the community by doing charitable efforts or connecting them with other women to really create a social network for them of support. We do a little bit of everything here at the Vikings, but I think the unique thing is it doesn't matter if you are on practice squad or the starting quarterback's wife. You are supported exactly the same way and have the same resources.
Yeah, when you look at what you've done with this international collection with the clothing line, I know everybody knows your name with families. So don't say names. You don't have to say Steph Ham or anybody did anything. But where were some funny interactions where because I know people ask for stuff all the time. They see it, they hear about it, how do I get one? Has any of that popped up where it's I cannot believe I had to go through all this?
Well, it's funny because the collection was launched on Friday at noon. So a lot of the spouses were calling the coaches because it sold out online. So I saw coaches running to the team store in Eagan to pick up stuff. And they were like, Quinn, what size do I get? Which one do I get? And then in them doing it, literally running because sizes were selling out, it made our players, the D-line that you mentioned, be like, what's that? What do they got there? So then they wanted the support as well. So it was so fun because it's also a unisex collection.
Yep.
So it's not just for women, it's for our coaches, it's for our players. I think they have a plan on Monday Night Football to wear some of the jackets, so be on the lookout.
Okay.
But it was so fun to see
Bomber
it
jacket, bomber
yes,
jacket.
happen in
I
real
would,
time.
I would take the was it a starter jacket or which one? Starter jacket. So the starter jacket was awesome.
Yeah.
That was low key fire. That was high key fire. That was high key fire because it took me back to when I was a kid because I remember the starter jackets. So I was like, yeah, that looks nice. Like, I'll for sure Monday Night Football would wear that. Just saying, just throwing it out there. Just,
I actually have one for you.
Just-
Not even kidding.
just dropping a penny in a water bottle, making a wish. Extra large.
Noted.
But when you see the NFLPA come out with these grades, how much of a pat on the back or internal, because a lot of times you don't get the credit, and I'm going to make sure to give you credit next time because they give us these report cards all the time and we talk about it.
Well, I think it's definitely not my score alone. We have Leah and Chelsea in here as well, and Kevin and Kwesi. There's so many people in our building, even down to the game day staff, how they treat our families. It's really a collective effort, but I think what we do well is it really gives a competitive advantage for us. Every single player that we brought in for free agency said, I'm so excited for my family to be supported as well. And that's something that I am so passionate about, and I can talk all day about the importance behind it because, as Leah and Chelsea mentioned, it really allows our players and our coaches to focus on football and for them to know that their families are well taken care of in this environment. So for me, that is where my passion lies, and it's knowing that they're well taken care of.
We'll have to do this again Monday Night Football because I got a lot of questions, but I'm not going to take much more time. Coming up next, we got the Daily 3. That's 3 questions. We spend about a minute each today, and we'll be back after a word from our sponsors.
Great stuff from Leah and Chelsea. We are brought to you by FanDuel today. Great new offer for new FanDuel customers, especially NFL fans. This is the place to bet NFL. You click on any NFL game and you've got dozens, might even be hundreds of wagering options on every single NFL game. It's America's #1 sportsbook for a reason. It's a partner of the NFL, official sportsbook partner for a reason. New customers bet $5. If that bet wins, you get $150 in bonus bets. I'm checking out that Vikings-Titans line on Sunday. Vikings -5.5, money line -280. Put $5 on the money line. Good chance that hits. Then you get $150 in your account that you can put on NHL, NBA, college basketball, college football, or of course the NFL. FanDuel.com to get started. Bet 5, win that bet, get $150 at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Make every moment more.
Well, had a lot of fun with Chelsea and Leah. Definitely always, when you get the family perspective, I think a lot of people forget how important the team atmosphere is and their family first. They do a lot of things together. They wanted to be in this interview together because I know when I suggested, hey, we could just send you guys a video link and we can do it. You can do it from wherever you want to do it. They were like, no, you come over here. Let's make it official. So I was like, hey, let's do it. So I really appreciate that from the Minnesota Vikings and the Wives for making that happen. Looking forward to seeing what they got next. I know with clothing, especially when it has a team logo on it, people eat that stuff up. And so we know the Unreal hoodies the Vikings unveiled a while back, and now they have this. And so, yeah, it's always cool to see what's next. Like I said, I need to get a bomber jacket because I would wear that on the show, and I would wear that on like to the games, because that's one, that's a nice little bomber jacket. But see if I can, I don't know if they can make me a special run or something. But anyway, Sam, now it's time to jump into the Daily 3. That's 3 questions, about a minute each today. Take it away.
All right, necessary evil. We got to talk about the Gophers game on Saturday against Rutgers. You did the postcast afterward. The collapse. Gophers lose by 7 at Rutgers to end their 4-game winning streak. Who are you assigning the blame to?
So I think something's wrong with Darius Taylor. I think he was hurt maybe or something because he didn't play much. He had 10 carries. But you didn't see him out there. You saw him after that first touchdown. And if you watch back, it looks like his leg gets grabbed as he's stretching out. So I don't know if he had maybe a little pull or tweak or something. I think he did come back in a little bit later in the game, but it felt like something wasn't right with him. So I don't know if I can place blame on anybody, to be honest, because I didn't feel like they were at full strength. I did feel like, Rutgers came into this game understanding who Minnesota was. I think for Ethan Kalagmanis, he had a chip on his shoulder. So I more so attribute this to Ethan. Like I attribute this to Ethan because of like he played. Like I was watching tweets on Twitter, and even the Rutgers fans were like, "Man, this is the best we've ever seen Ethan playing." Like, man, where's this quarterback been all season? So clearly he was playing at a different clip. He was at a different like high and level. I guarantee his awareness all week was heightened. His want to will and when people like again, this is sports. You're going to get cut. You're going to get told you're not good enough. You're going to get whatever you need to use for motivation, use it. And so I'm pretty sure them getting Max Brosmer, him knowing they were actively looking in the portal for a quarterback. Because again, his I think his completion percentage was less than 65 or less than 60. It wasn't great. And so maybe it was right at 66. I can't remember what his completion with the Gophers. And so I know they just felt like, look, this is not the way to go. This is not the way to go. So I blame it on Ethan. I think Ethan did a great job. Other than that, like the team to me, it just felt like when they needed the play, they couldn't make it. When they needed to stop, they couldn't stop it. So I attribute that to Ethan. I think Ethan did a great job of attacking the Gophers defense.
Yeah, I would make it as simple as this. If Gears doesn't drop the ball with 8 minutes to go, I think you might win that game. I mean, I don't think the Rutgers offense was humming enough to take the lead. Gophers had the lead, and they kind of gave them.
Yeah, that was the fumble. Yeah,
gave them that touchdown. Ethan, at that point in the game, the passing game for Rutgers was not exactly churning. So I feel like that could have been the swing right there. Next up, Mike Conley for the Timberwolves. He is off to a tough 10-game start, Ron. He's shooting 30%. And he's playing like a career low in minutes. Are you concerned about the point guard's apparent decline?
No, it's too early in the season. I think that, again, this is a team trying to figure out who they are. Now, the decline is concerning, but also I think aging players too, like they know when and when not to put it on. Like I'm not sure how much he put into the preseason at his age. You know, he probably kind of sat back like, I work myself back into playing shape. Kind of reminds me like a little bit of like Chris Paul, how he handles it now, where you don't see a lot of them until later in the playoffs or in the season. And then it's like, oh, there's Chris Paul. And like, oh, where's he been at? I think for Mike Conley, like he's trying to figure out how do I make it 82 games plus the playoffs. Like they had a long playoff run, and he might still be tired from that. Like they had a long playoff run. And so, but if this is a trend and not a mirage, and he truly is like, this is what we're going to get. Yeah, I'd be concerned. I'd be really concerned. But I feel like this is more so of like, let's see what else we have on this team because we know we're good.
Yeah, it's weird because you made this trade and you wondered how are all the pieces going to fit, and you never worried that Mike Conley wouldn't fit. But it seems like he's struggling to figure out what his place is with these new pieces, how to run the offense with Randall involved and no longer Cat, and he just seems uncomfortable out there. But we got a lot of season left.
And DiVincenzo, though, like when you're playing as good as he's playing or has played, you know, I think that's part of it. That eats into like his minutes where maybe, you know, Mike Conley's not as comfortable getting into the swing of the game because they're trying to get all these other guys in the game that were in the past. They didn't have a Dante DiVincenzo that they felt like they can come off the bench with quick. Like it was more of like Mike Conley, you go until you feel like you can't go anymore.
I think he just needs to see some shots drop too. He had that game winner attempt against Miami that didn't fall. I was really hoping that would go in for him, just as a confidence builder.
Well, I was hoping for the 3-1 prediction, so I was good with
that. Well, they choked it away against Miami, so they gave you the one loss. And I think they've got the Blazers tonight. Last one. The Chiefs are 9-0, Ron. They keep winning a series of tight games where they don't play well, but they sneak it out at the end. Do you think they deserve to be Super Bowl favorites as they continue to steal these tight games to stay unbeaten?
Yeah, like I forgot what movie I was watching, but they're the champs. It was Coach Carter. It was Coach Carter. I remember that dude was like, "We're the champs, we ain't the champs no more." Like, until somebody beats them, until somebody can prove that they can do it. Like Patrick Mahomes used to make like highlight plays, all this stuff. He had deep, but then it was like Patrick Mahomes was solid. Then it was like the defense was good. They just find ways to win. Like they are kind of on that like Tom Brady Patriots run right now, where it's like it just feels like they just have it. Like it doesn't matter what's going on, how bad they're playing, how boring it looks. They find a way to win these games. And so whether they win 16-14 or whether they win 42-7, it doesn't matter. They're undefeated. So yes, I think they're still the favorites. You put Andy Reid in a situation where it's for one game, I put him up against anybody. You put Patrick Mahomes in a game for one game, which is the Super Bowl, I put him up against anybody. So yeah, they're still Super Bowl favorites. Like, and they have weapons. That's the thing. Like, they have weapons. Now, I will say Travis Kelce does look a little bit slower, but I think the same thing. Like, he talked about his body being hurt, talked about possibly retiring and all this other stuff this offseason. So yeah, so I think there's like a little bit of that of why they look the way they look, but at the same time, they're undefeated, and their goal is, they know, like, at their clip right now, they know, one, we probably get a bye week 1. 2, we're probably going to be playing for at least 2 to 3 weeks in the playoffs, because that's how good we are. So I think they're doing that too, is like we can get guys back, we can get some health back here and there. But yes, they're the favorites.
And they basically clinched the bye if they beat Buffalo on Sunday.
It's crazy.
They are favorites at FanDuel, but I'd bet the Lions. I'd take the Lions plus 480 for sure, because I think they are a better,
after that Jared Goff performance. You do that against the Chiefs, you are not winning that game. You throw 4 to 5 interceptions. Trust me, you are not going to beat them throwing 5 interceptions.
Outlier. Jared Goff doesn't usually throw 5 incompletions in a game. Let alone
as of late, he has been very like on point with that. Like, he's been very on point with that. He's been starting games like 8 for 8, which is crazy.
Yeah. Or maybe I bet the Ravens. I like the Ravens a lot too.
Yeah, the Ravens look good too. I mean, Rashad Bateman and Lamar Jackson. And so, yeah, so we'll see. I mean, the Minnesota Vikings aren't favorites yet, but we have a lot more season to go. There are 2-game road stretch left. They have 2 games left of a 3-game road stretch. So coming up next, we got the Tennessee Titans. So we'll see how they do against that. And then the Bears, because you just never know what's going to happen with the Chicago Bears. But they don't look good right now. Caleb Williams does not look good. So hopefully they don't get it together by the time Minnesota shows up to Chicago. But I'm Ron Johnson and Sam Ekstrom. This is the Ron Johnson Show on Locked On Sports Minnesota. Please make sure you guys subscribe on YouTube to Locked On Sports Minnesota. Just go on, hit the subscribe button. You'll get all the updates every time a show happens. Anytime big news happens, or hey, when Sam Darnold throws for 400 yards, we're for sure going to break that down. But make sure you guys have a great week and enjoy some football this weekend.